Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Raw Logic. Today we're diving into something that is so relatable. It's this incredibly powerful and sometimes honestly destructive pattern in relationships that we call the savior complex. I mean, we've all felt it, right? That deep-seated desire to help someone we love when we see them struggling. It really does come from a good place, a place of love. But, and this is the big but, sometimes that impulse can twist into something a lot more complicated. Something compulsive. So, let me ask you this, just to get us started. Have you ever found yourself in that situation where you feel this almost compulsive need to fix someone? You pour everything you have into it, thinking you're doing the absolute right thing, only for it to completely backfire? Maybe it even pushed them away. It's a tough spot to be in. Okay, so let's start by just looking at the symptom here. We call this the rescuer's dilemma, and it's a perfect name for it because it's this pattern that so many of us get trapped in, often without even realizing how we got there. So in the world of psychology, we often call this the savior complex. You might have also heard it called white knight syndrome. Now, it's really important to get this straight. This isn't some formal diagnosis you'd find in the DSM. Think of it more as a psychological framework, a way to describe this deep, persistent need to save other people. And the key part? It almost always comes at a huge cost to the rescuer's own well-being. All right, so that's the what, but the really big question, the one we're here to unpack, is why? Why does this happen? To really get it, we have to go deeper into the psychological roots of it all. And you'll find that this impulse to rescue often goes way, way back to our earliest experiences. Yeah, one of the most common starting points is something called parentification. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when a child is sort of forced to become the parent, maybe because their actual parents are struggling with something like addiction or just emotionally checked out. These kids step up. They become the caregivers. And you know what they hear? "Oh, you're so mature for your age." That praise becomes a powerful lesson. They start to believe deep down that their worth, their entire value as a person, is tied to how well they take care of other people. Their whole identity gets wrapped up in being the help. And that pattern from childhood leads us right into what psychologists call attachment theory. It's this foundational idea that our very first relationships, usually with our parents, create a kind of blueprint for all of our relationships later in life. When a kid gets consistent, reliable care, they develop a secure attachment. But if that care is unpredictable or inconsistent, well, that's where insecurity starts to take root. Exactly. And when you have that insecure attachment, you develop coping strategies. So for someone with what we call an anxious attachment, they might use hyper-activating strategies. They're basically doing everything they can to stay close and feel safe. Rescuing their partner? Well, that's a perfect way to make yourself seem indispensable, right? To make sure they need you and won't leave. On the flip side, someone with an avoidance style might use deactivating strategies. For them, focusing all their energy on fixing their partner's problems is actually a brilliant way to avoid their own feelings and vulnerabilities. It's a distraction. Okay, so how does all this theory actually look in a real relationship? Well, there's this fantastic model that helps us see it in action. It's called the drama triangle, developed by Stephen Cartman, and it perfectly maps out the toxic dance that happens in these situations. So the dance usually kicks off with the rescuer. This is the person who feels that constant, nagging need to help. They're the ones who jump in, often when no one even asks them to. Their whole sense of self is built around being the capable one, the fixer. But here's the thing, it's not purely selfless. A lot of the time, that helping is really about calming their own anxiety and making them feel needed and in control. Right. And for a rescuer to exist, they need someone to rescue. That's where the victim role comes in. And we have to be super clear here. We're not talking about someone who is a genuine victim of abuse or trauma. In the context of this triangle, the victim is a relational role. It's a person who feels powerless, who doesn't take responsibility, and who is, on some level, looking for a savior to come in and fix things for them. And the third corner of this triangle is the persecutor. This is the person who deals with their own tough feelings like shame or fear by pointing the finger. They blame, they criticize, they control. And where does that come from? It often comes from a deep, terrifying fear of being powerless themselves. So they manage that fear by trying to have power over somebody else. And here's what makes the drama triangle so incredibly toxic. Nobody stays in one role. It's constantly shifting. Think about it. A rescuer who feels like all their hard work isn't being appreciated, bam, they can flip right into being the persecutor. You'll hear things like, "After everything I've done for you." Then, when they feel attacked or misunderstood, they can suddenly become the victim. It's this endless, exhausting cycle that keeps the drama going and makes it impossible for anyone to actually solve anything. So let's talk about the impact. What's the real cost of all this helping? Because from the outside, it can look a lot like love and care. But underneath the surface, the long-term damage is, well, it's pretty corrosive for everyone. For the rescuer, it's just a recipe for burnout. They end up feeling resentful, exhausted, and they can even lose their own sense of self because all their energy is going into their partner. But it's just as damaging for the person being rescued. It completely stunts their personal growth, chips away at their independence, and creates this really unhealthy cycle of dependency. Absolutely. It can actually create a psychological state called learned helplessness. It's a powerful concept. If someone is always jumping in to solve your problems for you, you eventually start to believe that you can't solve them yourself. It just reinforces that you need a savior, and it robs you of the chance to build your own confidence, your own resilience. You never learn to solve your own problems. And that right there is exactly why this whole thing backfires so spectacularly. The rescuer expects gratitude, but what they get is resentment. And hearing that phrase, "I never asked for your help," man, that can feel like a knife in the heart for someone who thinks they've been giving everything. But what it really is a wake-up call. It's a signal that their help didn't feel like support. It felt like control. It felt like a message saying, "You're not capable." Okay, so if fixing is the problem, what's the prescription? How do we get out of this mess? Well, the way out is all about a huge mental shift. It's about moving from a mindset of fixing to one of supporting. And that distinction, that simple change, can literally transform a relationship. Yeah, let's really spell this out. Fixing comes from a place of, "You are broken and I know how to fix you." It's all about jumping in with advice you weren't asked for, mostly to make yourself feel better. Supporting, that's totally different. It starts with trust. It assumes your partner is whole and capable. Instead of giving answers, you ask questions like, "What do you need from me right now?" You just sit with their feelings instead of trying to make them go away. The result? You build their autonomy instead of creating dependence. And there's a really powerful tool that can help with this shift. It comes from a type of therapy called DBT, and it's called radical acceptance. It is the practice of just accepting reality for what it is, without fighting it, without judging it. For a rescuer, this is a game changer. It means accepting your partner's pain or their struggle without feeling that immediate overwhelming urge to jump in and fix it. And it's not about giving up. It's about letting go of that fight with reality, which frees you up to respond in a much healthier way. You know, this really brings it all home. Real, genuine support isn't about being the hero who slays your partner's dragons for them. It's about trusting that they have what it takes to slay their own dragons, and just being there, holding their hand while they do it. Sometimes the most loving thing you can possibly do is to just step back. So this leaves us with a final question to reflect on. And it's a big one. It requires some real honesty with yourself. But asking it can be the very first step toward a healthier way of relating to people you love. So ask yourself, in your relationships, are you truly trying to build up your partner's autonomy? Or are you, maybe even without realizing it, just trying to serve your own need to be needed? Whew. That journey from being a rescuer to being a true partner, it's not easy for sure, but it is absolutely the path toward real intimacy and mutual growth. Thank you so much for exploring this with us today. If you want more insights into the psychology that shapes our world, please make sure you subscribe to Raw Logic.